Welcome to the Kendi and Raybo podcast, episode 37, recorded in Kendi's box room.
Before we go any further, it's slugging me tea and sucking me vape, okay?
That's the big intro there.
Right. Just in case that intro doesn't work, let's do a proper one as well.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's episode 37, isn't it?
Yes.
As Ray referenced in the intro. There's a man sitting beside us by the name of John Colleary.
That's me.
Right? Fair play to him.
Fair
Now,
play to John.
he's a wonderful comedian.
Isn't that a lady?
It's a lady.
Is
It's
it?
a lady, yeah.
Sorry, a comedian.
Yeah, that's a man. Yeah.
A comedian. And if you haven't heard of him before, let me tell you one thing now.
Okay.
Google his name and you'll go, oh yeah,
That guard.
that fella. Because John, every comedy show that's been put on in Ireland in the last 10 years, you've definitely been in it.
That's right, and I have a 0-4 offences to prove it.
So that just shows that's RTE, the way to go.
And you're significantly worried about leaving it outside Kendi's house.
€950 I paid for
Is that shit? So the big bucks, lads. if
There's
you wanna
great
make it.
satisfaction in getting a cheap car, isn't there?
Oh, it's it. Yeah, and the more miles it does for you, the more you'll tell everyone.
Yeah.
You know? Jeez, I've had that joke now since I was a young fella, like, you know.
Exactly.
Never,
And it's like other products, like, excuse me, I'm eating biscuits here.
Sorry, I
is
was
that right?
It's like, if you get something cheap, you have to tell someone. If you get something that costs you £1 million, you never tell anyone.
Yeah, that's for
So
sure.
your watch, see that watch?
Yeah.
€3.
Yeah, that's it.
Whereas if you had something that was £1 million, you wouldn't be going to people. See that? What's that lovely watch? £1 million. Fucking for nothing.
Like, that's what I do. I'm so proud of my Casio that's on my wrist, like. But if that was a Rolex, I wouldn't tell nobody, like.
No.
Would I tell you a little story about what happened to me during the week?
Go on.
Okay.
I'm into speakers. I love speakers.
You do enjoy speakers.
I do enjoy speakers.
Yeah.
Speaking of stuff like with the money.
Aye.
And a friend of mine who's living over in America, he came home on his holidays and he decided that he had to clear out the room. The mother was at him.
Right.
So there's a load of speakers in the room and I've cleared them out. So he said, I'll sell them. I'll text Ray and see would he be interested in them. There was 7 speakers and a power amp.
Right.
Do you know what he asked me for them?
Go on.
€500.
Tis a bargain,
That's
right?
an unbelievable bargain.
Yeah.
What do you think I did?
You bought it.
I texted him back and I said, I'm sorry, Peter. I can't take them off you that price. They're worth $1.50.
Oh, you're an absolute... Why would you do that?
I couldn't in all good conscience take them off him.
Do you know it's like that? I heard a great story from back in Castery, right? I'm from Castery, John, just in case you're wondering.
That's all right.
Born and
Listen,
bred in a
I'd head
prison, boy. I heard this unbelievable story of a local musician, right, in Castery, and he was at a wake of an old fella, you know, who was a musician as well. And he went in and said to the daughter, the only surviving member, I wonder did he have anything left over, you know,
no.
because you could make a bit of money, you know, and I'd like to see you get something out of him.
Yeah.
And he went in and got what is a Dynacord powered desk,
Fancy oak.
a fancy oak for anyone out there who doesn't realise,
Yeah.
worth about €1,200, and I think he gave her £100 for it.
Oh.
I said that's a dirty deed, but it also got me thinking, Ray, we may go to a few more funerals. But
Yeah. Dirty
You know-
deed at a funeral as well.
awful deed,
There we
lad.
go.
So I'm not going to call him out, but you know who you are.
My father bet me there, I won't lie to you.
Go on.
When I told him that I wasn't going to take it off him for €500,
Yeah.
and my father gave out.
Yeah, well, you did right.
Yeah, he gave out.
It's your £500, Ray. You're making money.
That's far you won't pass, you lads.
But Ray, you're notorious for buying anything that's offered to you. Like, you will, like. And then you'll go, geez, I have no money.
Yeah.
Well, that's because you
But sure,
bought...
because you can't pass a bargain.
Yeah.
Do you find that?
I
Like,
do it all the time.
you don't need the thing, but you can't
Oh, you
pass
have
the
to have
bargain.
it, yeah.
Big, this is where everyone is now literally listening to a conversation between 3 musicians going, Cheers, we're some men, lads, with all that. No, that stuff. Huh?
Yeah.
So what came first, the chicken or the egg, the music or the
I think
comedy?
the music came first. The music came first because I was just obsessed with it. Younger, you know, I had bought a guitar the first chance I could get, like, and learned it myself in a room.
Did you buy one out of the record room here in town?
No, I didn't actually. I
Oh,
bought one.
feck, Kev be vexed.
I love Kevin.
Oh, he be vexed.
You're from Sligo now. We better
Yeah.
give people
Oh, yeah,
a
we
bit of
must say
context,
that,
you know?
yeah. Sorry.
And I bought one. I couldn't afford a guitar when I was a teenager, so I kind of put it out of my head. And some of my friends had guitars, and I used to muck around with them. And then when I moved to London when I was about 19 or so, I bought an acoustic then. I still have it.
How did you get into it then? So was it natural from the
Stand-up.
music? Yeah.
Yeah, stand up, yeah.
That was something I was trying as well. By the end of this is going back now, 20 years ago now. By the end of the 90s, I was living here in town for about 6 months that year, and a couple of my mates and myself, and we had this little band, and we were kind of in between the comedy and we were doing both things. We were writing comedy sketches, but we had a band as well. So we kind of that idea kind of came there. We mixed up the two things.
Yeah.
So we had this. I kind of put together this show, and we had sketches and we had tunes, and we actually wrote original tunes for that. Again, short lived. We did it for a summer. Did a few gigs around town, and
You got a taste for it though.
I got a taste for it, and then after that, didn't do anything for a couple of years. Was just doing live stuff, just getting on with stuff, and then I just got back into it around 3 years later, maybe.
So you started out doing comedy in Sligo. Was your first?
I wouldn't say I'd started out.
But you started out doing that kind of variety sketch.
Yeah, I
thing.
was in a band, and then it kind of morphed into
Do we sketch
a
stuff?
sketch
Yeah.
group within the band.
Because like Sligo is an artsy town, like
Yeah.
it really is, like.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine what it's like for someone to go. I'm actually a comedian now. Like the whole town. What?
What are you on about? So
What
we're
are
all
you-
comedians.
Yeah. What are you saying? Yeah. You're a right funny man. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah,
Tell me something funny, so we see how
that's true. That is true. Yeah.
So it must have been fair. Like if you're going to become a stand-up comedian in Ireland, I think you have to go straight to Dublin.
You have to go to
Yeah, yeah.
Dublin.
Everyone
yeah.
will kiss your arse. Like,
Well, they won't kiss your arse, but they'll recognise the form that what
yeah,
you're doing.
they let
But
it be what it is.
Here, it's like they'll be going, sure, what's that fucker on about? Because that's the difference between Ireland and England. In England, this is an interesting thing. Like the class thing works because in Ireland, like we were colonised and so on and so on. So we
Yeah.
had a master for a lot of the time. So anyone standing up talking represents kind of authority to them. So Irish people go, what's that fucker on about?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Whereas
that,
over
isn't it?
there, they go, dance for me. In Britain, they go, we're the class, we're the upper hand here. You're just a performer.
You're the jester.
You just do the thing. And we'll go, cool, that's really well done.
Yeah, that's mad, isn't
Whereas
it?
over here, it's like, what's that fucker on about?
Yeah.
I'm funnier than that fucker.
Yeah.
What's he on about?
Yeah.
It's like famous, like that's the most, I've heard that most often. What the fucker's that? What's that fucker on about?
And so is it easier to do a gig abroad in England than it is to do it here? Like,
It's different, just different, because they really sit and expect. I mean, that's in most places. I mean, you're obviously going to get rowdy places as well, but
Yeah.
in the general run of things, they sit and go, we know what comedy is in terms of how the form is and how you form setup and punchline and all that stuff. And they
Yeah.
really, because I remember going to Edinburgh about 10 or 12 years ago, first time, and I was kind of perplexed by it because I was going, obviously the references are going to be different. The stuff you do here in Ireland is very Irish based, so people in Ireland get it without you having to explain it. But over there, I was doing stuff that I thought was kind of good, but they were just staring at it. And then I rewrote the thing a bit for the next night, and I just made it very basic very basic setups, and it wasn't that funny for me.
yeah,
But when I did it, they went, "Oh,
it translated better.
Have you there
now I
now?
have it."
Yeah.
No, that's fine. Well done.
Yeah.
You've done that. You've spun the wheel 3 times. You've hit the mark in terms of how it's formed.
Is it a case that the Irish crowd likes the devil in the detail, and in the English crowd more so kind of enjoys it just straight?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I don't know. I just know that it's much more of an industry in that country. It's much more of a bottom to top industry with a progression, and there's certain types of characters, and it's such a big population compared to here that you have certain types that appeal to other certain types. So there's enough people in England to follow a type of comedian. So you get your Mickey Flanagan, who's got his working class roots and his Cockney bit, and there's enough people to follow that, and then there's enough people to follow Stuart Lee on the other end, the Cambridgey, whatever kind of university educated, satirical, whimsical kind of offbeat guy. So there's enough people. If he was living in Ireland and he grew up and he went to Trinity or he went to UCD, he probably wouldn't be making a living because there's not enough people. There's not enough people to support that career for him and everyone else. So it's just more formulaic in Britain. It's just like there's so many English comics, and I almost have them in my head when I go there, going, do you know if you're in Tesco and you walk up to counter, you say, why would I? Because they love the rules.
Yeah.
So if anyone talks about flouting the rules in Britain, they think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
So I walked out the queue. So the next time you're in Tesco, make sure that you bring a pair of underpants in your hand. And everyone goes, oh my God, imagine if you had a pair of underpants in your hand in Tesco's. I mean, that would be so insane. Whereas Irish people will go, that's right, he's always at that.
Yeah, that's Maggie show. Huh?
That's Tom.
Yeah, Tom was at that
You want
stuff
to come
show.
down on a Friday, he's worse. You know?
Yeah, there's a reason he has the knickers. He has a bottle of whiskey underneath it.
That's right. So there's a difference in the delivery of it.
And you mentioned Mickey Flanagan there as well. That's the first time Mickey has been mentioned in the show without a Mickey reference.
Yeah.
That's an actual Mickey
Have you
Flanagan.
any idea how much I had to control myself?
Mickey.
See,
Flanagan.
See, me and Ray completely agree with you. We're very much bottom of the barrel comedy. Anything to do with Mickey references, right? Like
That
that.
was like a trigger for Mark. He's
Yeah.
going,
Yeah. And to do with
Mickey.
That's-
Mickey.
I can't jump on
How's
it.
your Mickey?
My head's going to explode.
How are you doing, lads? How's your Mickeys? Fine.
Come here. That's one thing I had to ask you, right?
Yes.
Me and Ray have referenced this so many times on this show already. This is a tiny island,
Yeah.
right? The diversity of accents,
Accents,
is crazy.
Insane, yeah.
And I've been watching you do them for ages,
Yeah.
like years and years on the Savage Eye and Weekly Pictorial or whatever it was, and even in your stand-up as well. It's unbelievable that you can go from top to bottom and hear what sounds like two different languages.
That's right.
Like we referenced that the guy in Kerry.
oh, the book that was on the news.
The
Did you
sheep-
see?
the sheep-
Sheep
Yeah,
dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to get a
right.
dog. Like that.
Yeah.
Like that's not Irish. Like he's
Yeah,
he's not speaking English. Sorry,
No.
It's like
But he was speaking a kind of a.
A local dialect.
He was speaking a mix of. I heard that thing and I listened to it a few times, and he was speaking superbly, directly translated Irishness
Yeah.
of old. Like he was calling a bright night a moonshine night.
yeah,
He was saying, "You could be caught out in a moonshine night."
yeah, that's right.
Should anyone come and get it? What's to be done about it? Nothing.
Nothing to be done about it. Nothing.
It's like
Yeah.
Yoda.
But it's mad. Like it's mad. Like okay, so you're an expert, right, on accents, right? You're fairly good at them now,
Well,
but
no, listen, I'll be all
so
Kind of went tabby there for a minute.
so I got to pop your head for a couple of them, right?
okay.
I think I'm an expert on them. I'm not at all.
Good man.
Right?
Excellent. I
No,
wanna
I'm
hear
definitely
yours
not.
too.
No, I'm definitely not.
I'm
I can't
excited
tell
now.
the difference between Monaghan and Cavan.
Whoa. That's the challenge thrown down there
That
now.
is a challenge.
Yeah,
Because it depends on where in Monaghan you're talking about, and it depends on where in Cavan you're talking about. But there is a subtle. You have to listen. I'd have to listen hard if there was two people and one was from each of those places.
Yeah.
But there's a kind of a slightly sweeter Monaghan thing going on.
Yeah.
And the Cavan thing is a bit more drawly.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's tiny things. And there's people in RTE as well, like there's people that work in Met Éireann in particular that are from all over the country, and I love hearing them because I'm listening to them because I know that they've been exposed to urban culture and so on and coffee and fucking sushi and stuff like that. So they've modified slightly, but you can still hear like that Jerry Murphy fella that works in Met Éireann. He's for sure from Monaghan. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
It won't be too bad now next Tuesday and next Wednesday, and it's going to be fine. And then he goes into another little spin, then he goes off that way as well again. Whereas Cavan tends to be a bit more. I don't know actually. It's just
Because-
slightly sharper. But then there's towns in Monaghan, like Carrickmacross, places like that.
Yeah.
Which is almost
Like that's-
That sound like Navan.
Yeah, like Carver Cross Fair. It's fair.
Yeah.
Take that accent, but it's like it. I do.
it goes a bit Dundalky because it's not
Yeah.
that far from. Well, it's
That's a
kind
great word, Dundalk.
yeah,
Yeah.
the donkey.
yeah.
But it does. It kind of hits almost, I don't know, towards Navid or something. Like
Yeah.
because one of our best mates is from Cavan, and every
Yeah.
time we make fun of him, he tells us we're doing the Monaghan one.
Oh,
You know what I
right,
mean?
because
He's like, that's not Cavan. Like,
The Monaghan one's probably more lively.
yeah,
And a bit more. If it's rural Monaghan, it's a bit more roundy. If that makes any sense.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a bit sweeter or something. Whereas a Cavan one can be, fierce. It can be very downbeat. You know what I mean? A few lads there from Arva, which is I'll drop you down in the Vaughan.
What's your favourite accent now out of the country? Have you one that you knocked the
Ireland.
best crack out of? Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of them that are so different.
Your go-to, if you will.
I just like the North because it's so different
True.
to here. It's it's really sharp, so it is, you know what I mean. You get a lot of that, so it goes up, it goes right up there. So it does. It's always it goes up top at the end. That's Belfast. It goes up there. There's other culture accents in the North which are different, like Tyrone. I love Tyrone because they just say Tyrone. They don't say Tyrone, like in Tyrone, County Tyrone.
Yeah.
You won't hear that. You'll hear Tyrone and Fergal. I love hearing Mickey Hart say Fergal. Achille.
You know, you go an hour down the road any direction and it completely
different.
changes. Like,
Yeah.
you know
It's
what I mean?
softer in the south of Donegal, obviously. Letterkenny is his own thing. You know,
Yeah.
it's Letterkenny. It's its own thing. And then over towards the border of Derry, it becomes Derry-ish. And then Derry is Derry. And Derry is one of the ones I can't pin down any time. It comes to me sometimes because it's a different thing. If you listen to Paul McClune, he has a Derry accent,
Yeah.
obviously from Derry. Sometimes he slips into his real old accent. I have to say, it's always T. So I have to say, I like that.
And then when you think about it, the spin down to Wexford, then to go from that to
Jesus,
Wexford.
Wexford is hilarious because it sounds to me like people down there have just learned to speak and they're first excited about it. I mean, because they're going, oh no, the bear said the whole lot, and there's the ball of bar, there's never know the whole lot, but there, no, who's been as far as any scarty there, you know what I mean? Or whatever. What are they on about? And then if you come north to that, then, and that's where your Katie Taylor comes in, because that's
Yeah.
Wicklow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Master Mary, no, that's Wicklow.
It's watered
Yeah.
down quite a bit.
And then you go into Bray and it becomes a wee bit less. It's like, you know what I mean? It's still kind of Dublin-y, but if you're not from
Yeah.
Dublin,
Yeah.
if you're not living in Dublin, it sounds like it's from Dublin, but it's not actually, it's from Bray.
Yeah.
The worst thing is, though, it classes up as soon as it hits the south side then.
Yeah.
It classes up
It
lovely.
classes up big style, yeah.
So here's a big question now, and controversial to anyone. Is that Southside Dublin accent therefore a fake?
I think it's socially constructed
Yeah.
in a way, yeah. It is kind of, but it's also derivative of... derivative. Oh, hang on a second. This conversation's gone to fuck. Hang on. Oh, and we're back. It's kind of derivative of Britain back 100 years, 200 years.
Oh, I'm with you.
Because
That they had a bit
yeah,
of an outside
definitely.
influence
Well, that's
there.
where they lived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where the Brits lived.
Yeah,
was in
yeah.
that's why everything in the south side is British named. It's Turkey, it's Belgrave Square, it's Grosvenor Road, it's Lennon.
It's fancy.
Whereas in the north side, it's Saint everything.
Yeah.
It's St. Patrick's Road, it's Saint thing. It's
Yeah, that's a good point,
Michael
actually.
Collins Avenue,
Yeah.
Arthur Griffith Avenue. It's all the revolutionaries and
Yeah.
the saints.
But like I've been on to that accent for a while now, and namely because boys from out west and young ones from out west, the second they go to Dublin,
They get
that's
that-
the accent
yeah.
they pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
pick that accent. Like
Bring home with them.
they don't
Well,
get the north side accent. Like
No.
It's like wearing nice clothes. It's like it's a label.
It's
It's,
like-
a
it's-
nice accent to
yeah.
have, and you know they just do that. You know, it's like really, it's kind of like and it's almost American in the way it goes as well. And they even places like Hoth, which I call it Hoth. But if you meet people from Hoth who are like really got a few pound and stuff, they say it like it's the word height, Height. I'm from height.
That's
I've got
mad.
a height and height. Fuck off.
See that? I don't know. No, we're calling that one out, lads. We're getting to the bottom of that.
Yeah.
That's definitely.
Do you find using the accents much in your routines and whatnot?
Depends on what
What you're doing?
where you are, yeah. I try to. It kind of comes up sometimes.
It's a great
but it
advantage to
doesn't.
have, like.
It is
It's
actually.
massive, yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's just not there,
Yeah,
and sometimes it is there, and you can carry on with it for
for a while.
10 minutes if you want.
Would you,
And
when you're
stuff
tipping around, maybe staying in a hotel, we'll say down the country, and you
Yeah.
decide to be someone else? Do you do that the odd time?
decide to be someone else.
Yeah, kind of, or even going into a
With-
shop.
with
You
this
might,
head.
you might, you might stop in a little town somewhere, go in
Yeah.
and get a lottery ticket and a cup of coffee, and
Sometimes I
decide to be
do.
Belfast.
Sometimes I do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I do it for one or two sentences.
Yeah.
Because I'm too giddy to get it right.
Yeah.
So I go, sorry mate, what time is it?
Yeah.
You go, it's 12:30, mate. Oh, cheers, mate. And you just leave it at that.
But even if you went and did it for two or three sentences and then came
Yeah.
back out with it
Yeah.
to rural Sligo
Yeah.
and kind of mess with them all together,
Yeah.
just what's wrong with that fella?
He should be on that program on the television. Other voices.
Sorry, no, I'm definitely I'm getting across the whole of the country now, and I'm figuring
Yeah.
out all of them. I'm taking it all from you. So if you go down real south side,
Yeah.
the difference between Kerry and Cork as well.
There's a big difference there. That's a fairly, unless it's border,
Yeah.
it becomes less obvious. But Cork is, you know what I mean? It's like, you bought a house over there, but you see rushing hours and done it up, like, it was alright, like,
Yeah.
Whereas Kerry's whole of it more, it's a lot gentler than that,
Yeah.
And they have that thing, in Kerry you'll always know, because they'll inflect differently.
Right.
And you'll always know because they'll say they'll really pronounce the INGs.
Yeah.
He was walking.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then wasn't he sitting there and waiting for the bus?
I noticed that because I do loads of work in Killarney, and I have a
Yeah.
brother who lives in Killarney, right? And he doesn't have an accent at all, but he will do his INGs the exact way
Yeah.
and that's when I look at him the odd time and go,
It's a bit like you when your A's. Accent.
yeah, see, that's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
thing.
You pull out the A's.
Yeah, but I
And
get fair abuse for that, and I always say,
That's a Sligo thing.
yeah, and I'm not trying to do that.
I know, but it happens around.
You've picked it up from here.
But it
Yeah,
happens
for sure,
But
yeah.
it happens around these Count Mayo, Sligo, Roscommon.
Yeah.
That comes into the accent.
You draw out that A,
Yeah.
But I've only been in Sligo 8 years,
Yeah.
and I am not fucking trying to do that. People keep saying to me, "What's going on with the Sligo accent, boy?" You know what I mean?
What's going on with the accent?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and I'm going, I'm not trying. But I feel like there is no accent in Roscommon. But is that just because you come from that place?
It's just because you come from that place. It's
What you're used to.
Like, there's not only the SH. That's the only thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, stuff.
Stuff.
I get great value out of this H.
Yeah.
Or just H's in general.
Yeah.
If I love
I get great value
Yeah.
out of H's.
Making, yeah,
I
knock
probably overuse them in fairness, like.
a good deal on them, like.
Jesus Christ. That's
Yeah,
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
state, sting.
And I'm also. Yeah, no, it's definitely the H's. I'm also
You're
very
from
aware.
Roscommon as well, aren't you?
No, I'm from Mayo.
You're from Mayo,
But I
I thought,
have
yeah.
a sort of a Cavan lilt on me.
Right.
Because of the fact that I live with a Cavan man named Sean O'Reilly.
That's
well,
right.
They're all called Riley.
Yeah, they are.
That's
Fairness
right.
to them. I don't know how that happened.
They're all related, you see.
Riley and Brady and Cusack. That's quite another. And Smith.
Yeah.
Everyone called Smith is from Cavan.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great county. In fairness, I do a great time for them.
I think Cavan is the Africa of Ireland. I'm serious.
Well,
I'm
why
not saying
so?
that it's fucking,
You'll have to elaborate on that
Yeah,
one.
I'm not saying that it's a victim of horrendous successive corrupt governments and
Yeah.
famine
Well, maybe
Right.
it is.
and tiger
And apartheid and all sorts of crazy stuff.
lions and elephants. But I'm saying that everyone is related some way back to Cavan. It's almost like the
Or
source.
you think we all come out of
I
Cavan?
think so. It's the source of everything. Everyone I know is in some way. Like
Go
my
ahead,
mum
yeah.
was from there.
Yeah.
McSavage, when we worked together, his mum was from there, and lots of other people that I know have 1 or 2 degrees. You only have to go back.
I think
two or
that-
3 degrees or generations, and you have a Cavan thing.
But that's what I think that's where the comedy comes from.
Yeah,
though.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
It's
I think
surreal.
that's you have a relation from Cavan if you have a bit of development inside in you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Because there's fair development in Cavan, and it's a fair artsy county too, as well. Even
Yeah,
though
yeah.
it's wrapped up in a buffness that it almost can't break out of.
But,
You
they're
know what I
also-
mean?
But they're limited then by the begrudgery.
Yeah, the begrudgery.
The begrudgery keeps it just within.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. It's self-containing as a county.
And it comes back to what the hell is that fella
yeah,
doing?
it'll
like?
have some breakout stars who will be well and truly pulled back down again
Yeah, yeah.
by
That's right.
an old shoulder outside a chipper
That's right,
at a
that's right.
Saturday night.
That's right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know, are you friendly with young McGahern?
Yeah, I know
Kevin.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I heard a story about him, about how he did a gig somewhere where it was a fierce rowdy crowd. Like, do you get rowdy crowds?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This particular night, it was a stag party in the gig,
Right.
and apparently they were all doing stuff in the toilets.
A drop of stuff.
Drop of stuff,
Right. Yeah.
and before he came on, he witnessed them abroad in the toilets doing this.
Right.
And he got up then knowing full well that he'd have to contain this bunch of lads down the
Yeah.
back for his own thing. So the first thing I think he said was, "How are you getting on? I'm Kevin, and I'd like to welcome in some good friends of mine from the Garda Drugs Unit in tonight. Fair play to them. They're all here tonight. They're all in to see me. They're great lads."
That's great.
Not a minute or two later, all the boys gone.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
That's a great twist, that.
But it's a fierce way of dealing with things. Like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
how would you deal with a rowdy crowd now if you got them, or would you have ways?
Oh,
Or would you just go
God.
Belfast,
It
would you?
depends. It depends on what rowdy you're talking about. If you're talking about people who are just if you're talking about rowdy, you're talking about drinking drugs, right? So you're talking
Yeah.
about, is it cocaine or is it alcohol?
Yeah.
Try and
So
diagnose
you have
it.
to talk to the drug
Yeah,
rather than the people
right.
wearing it. So, with alcohol, it's a no go if they're really rotten because
Yeah.
they're just going, oh man. So you've no crack with that.
No.
Yeah, no.
So you just have to pretend and say, yeah, any other syllables you might know there, yeah. Just keep shouting out when you recognise shit and so on. And eventually they'll leave or fall asleep or something. And then cocaine people are just like, they're both
Very alert.
bolt upright.
Yeah.
And once you mention the drug to them, that kind of shuts them up.
Yeah.
Oh, lads, doing a bit of coke. and just
Because you've called them out.
and then everyone else laughs. And the other thing to do, I always find, is because I don't like having to. Some lads are very good at going all the way on someone, taking them down, giving them every inch of vitriol, and knocking them out in a kind of an MMA comedy way.
Yeah, yeah.
Just until they're beating the floor.
Yeah.
MMA comedy. That's good now. There's an idea. Write that one down, Kennedy.
I always think MDMA comedy would be good, wouldn't it? Or not comedy, MDMA fighting. Where,
Oh, man, yeah.
where lads are just like in a corner going. and just hanging off, hugging each other in the middle of a cage. But
That's great.
But
You wouldn't be taking them down.
no, I prefer to do. There's another little lazy, I suppose, tactic, which is that if somebody or two or three people or one person is persistent, to go, you know, I was only saying to him there that you were fucking with him. Yeah, and then you ignore,
Yeah.
let that tension build
Because that happens.
because everyone else in the room is going,
Oh, it's
Yeah.
bad.
shut up.
Yeah.
Bad.
So you let it build. And you let it build and build and build until it's unbearable nearly. And then you say, will you shut the fuck up? And the whole,
so
and the whole room goes,
Yeah.
or you go, if it goes on and on, you go to the rest of the room. Who wants him to shut up? Just
Yeah.
shout out. And they all go,
Yeah, that's great.
and he goes, and it's kind of done then.
What my trick was, and it's worked 2 or 3 times, but it worked best on one lady who came in. I'm not sure if I told the story in this podcast before, but I'll tell it again
Wouldn't
anyway.
be like us to tell it twice
Yeah.
anyway.
So
Yeah.
I was doing a gig, right? And there was a American wedding on, right? About 130 Americans and me playing guitar for them in a pub in town.
That was a fierce night.
It was a marvellous night, Ray.
They were Americans, so
Americans.
You know,
it was,
they
it was a very talented group, shall
Yeah.
we say.
the
They looked well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Irish woman walks up from the back of the bar, says, "Do you know Chris Christopherson?" I said, "I'm sorry, I don't." And she said, "Are you not a fucking professional?"
All
And
right.
I was like, "Whoa!" Right? One was in her 60s, and I was like, I said, "Look, I'm sorry, but I don't know every song ever. I wish I did. I'd play it for you if I did."
You were
And
getting snarky there straight away.
Yeah, no, yeah. But she says to me, right? And the whole pub has died down because she's shouting at me,
Right.
and everyone's waiting. There's 130 Americans waiting for "Bye Bye Miss American Kennedy," right? And she stood in the middle of them, and she says, "You're only here to please the Yanks." And she's like, "We come into this pub every
Yeah.
week, and you're here because they're here one day to please the Yanks."
Like, well, this is a social issue now.
yeah, so,
It's changed
I
now.
got all right,
It's a different
okay.
thing.
Wearing a MAGA hat, So I said to her, "Do you know what you do, right?" I said, "What's your name, like?" And she told me her name, and I said, "Look, my name is Mark Kennedy." I said, "I'm here all the time." I said, "What you do is come in tomorrow around 1 o'clock. I'll get the owner of the pub,
Right.
and I'll get the manager of the pub, and the four of us will sit down." And we'll discuss what I did so wrong, and we'll see if I can build on it. Like
That's very, very
right?
constructive. Like.
No, but it was said with a bit of malice behind
Yeah,
it, right?
yeah.
So, and then she said, "Well, I can't come in tomorrow," and I said, "Right, well then, fuck off."
Yeah.
I go, and as she was walking back down the pub, I said, "Just gonna let everyone know, I can't play every single song that was ever written." And the whole pub went, "Way,
Hey.
yeah!" As she walked back down again.
Do you know Jimmy? Have you heard of Jimmy Greaves? He's still alive, footballer. Played for Tottenham, West Ham.
Jim Greaves?
Jimmy Greaves, England. He played an England footballer in the 60s.
Isn't he a commentator now? No,
He did commentary in the 80s and 90s.
I think I know that voice. Like, yeah,
He's about, I guess he's in his 70s now, late
Yeah.
70s. And he was, his career was, he was brilliant, prolific goal scorer, one of the best ever. His career was a bit botched by his booze habit. And
Right.
that kind of messed him up in the World Cup where he kind of got overlooked in the World Cup when they won it in 66.
6'6", yeah.
But anyway, he didn't fit the bill personality-wise, apparently. But apparently he said, this is nothing, I don't know why I thought of this, but it was to do with putting people down in a
Yeah.
good way. The referee in a game, he was playing for Tottenham or someone, was giving him a hard time. Somebody was giving him a hard time. The referee was giving him a hard time. And he came up to the ref and he said, "What would you do, ref, if I told you were a fucking wanker?" And the ref said, "I'd have to send you off, Jim." I said, "Right, what would you do if I just thought you were a fucking wanker?" So, "I can't do anything about what you think, Jim." "Well, I think you're a fucking wanker."
That's great. That's always like old folklore.
Yeah.
That better be true, because that's the best response
I hope
ever.
it is.
Yeah, that's
Well, I
deadly.
heard that years ago and it stuck in my head about how to quietly deal with something.
Yeah,
do you know what I
yeah.
mean?
There's
For
an art to
sure.
it.
Yeah.
Ray's going for it.
Now, this is nothing to do with. No.
No.
Last week we started a new thing on the show. We started drinking a drink that's been forgotten about.
We drink a beer every week, usually.
Yeah.
Do any of that though?
No,
Yeah,
I know
that's
that,
all right.
yeah. No, I know that, yeah. But we do drink a beer every week.
Oh, very good.
And I'll craft beer if we can get a hold of it or
Yeah.
something standard.
But not at 11 in the morning.
No,
So that's right.
But I kind of, the only thing that was getting me through the week was the novelty idea of drinking something at 11 in the morning. This is Saturday morning, by the way.
Yeah.
You're allowed
And
to.
she's coming on to midday.
Yeah. It's not morning anymore.
No,
No.
I'm kind of lining up for the next 5 minutes and then I can start it. But we want to see more, hold on now, sherry bars about the country.
We've done cocktails.
Yeah.
We've done gin bars.
Sherry.
Yeah.
Well, sherry is the new gin.
It should be like, and then mix it with a load of stuff as well.
So come here, look, we're going to get into this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said at the start of the show, you Google John Colleary's name. Let's say they don't know you. They Google your name, I guarantee you they know you, right? So everyone
Yeah,
who's out there
it's-
now in the podcast world, Google images and you'll go, yeah, right? And
Yeah.
the reason I first got to know you was because of the Savage Eye,
Yeah.
which was one of the best satirical programs ever written. It was
good fun, that one.
unbelievable. And did you wrote some of that as well, did you?
We wrote well, there was 4 of us, Dave, Pat, McDonald, Dermot, McMorrow, and myself.
Right.
It's Dave's stand-up converted and transposed into sketch material.
Sketches.
And then, but we all wrote stuff and threw it into the...
Yeah.
So I'm
Makes-
telling you, it's some of the best comedic writing I've ever. It's so smart,
Good.
some of it as
Glad
well.
you
It's
like
some-
it.
It's class because it goes from super smart when you get political on it, right?
Yeah.
To super demented when you
Demented
say.
is great.
When you say let's rip the piss out of Richie Kavanagh.
Yeah,
like,
that was-
I mean, they are two spectrums like that. Like that's.
And that was a lesson. A lesson. Sound like a wanker here, but that
We
was a
always
lesson.
do.
That was a lesson in how the perception, how comedy can work, based on it being not a good place it's coming from,
Right.
a darker place. Because we did that thing. We did that Richie Kavanagh. That was an idea Dave had because Dave met Richie, and Richie's a mad person.
What? Just for the people at home
Sorry
that
for the
haven't seen
people
it
at home.
now.
If
Yeah.
you YouTube it, you
Yeah.
will see a sketch of John and Dave.
Yeah.
John, you're playing guitar.
In a farmyard.
Yeah, Dave is dressed up as a Richie Kavanagh
But it's
type
like-
character.
But he's like,
Right.
he's like Ronald McDonald
Yeah,
as Richie
it's
Kavanagh.
ridiculous. Hair coming
Yeah,
out
yeah.
everywhere. And they wrote, people will know Did You Ever is a song
Did
by
You
Richie
Ever,
Kavanagh.
yeah.
Did you ever do, did you ever do, they did their own one.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it's a minute long.
It's
of,
a pun-tastic.
Yeah.
As in, did you ever bite a Jew? Did you ever
Yeah.
bite a Jew?
Did
Did
you
you
ever
ever bite a
eat
juicy
juicy bar-
apple? Or, you know?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
stuff
that's
like
it.
that. So
It's brilliant.
a joke that way. But when we did that thing, because I've met Richie and he's a mad person and he
Right.
wears white gloves all
Does
the time.
he doesn't wear white gloves, but he's out and about. Like,
He does, yeah.
No,
He's
yeah.
got some kind of, I think he might even have a skin problem,
Oh,
but he
does
wears
he?
these
Yeah.
little kind of surgical looking gloves.
Go away.
And I did a gig one night down in Carlow in one of those art centres, and it wasn't even in the main room. It was one of those gigs that was 10 people paid tickets to see it, so we were out in the foyer kind of thing. And there was 8 people in the front row and 2 people sitting somewhere around behind. And the 8 people in the front row was Richie Kavanagh and his family.
No way.
Yeah. And it was the most bizarre thing I've ever done.
So you did a private comedy gig for Richie Kavanagh and his family.
yeah. Cheers, that was great. No, cheers. I love Max Savage. He's great, crack Max Savage. And
Say he was delighted though to get
to get a little bit of a
Yeah.
boost that way from another person in the TV world, because no one apart from Dave, and I saw what he was trying to do with it, and Pat and all that, but nobody in that crew, director wise, and really they kind of knew what he was at, but they were kind of going, this is like possibly the most downbeat, horrible morning, really cold, in a farmyard, Dave doing his thing. There's no source music, there's no like sound. We're just doing it to silence. And I was going, this is like chronic. And then when it was stuck into the series, people were loving it. That thing is the best thing I've ever seen.
Did that get a good reaction, that
Yeah, and I
actual
was
bit
going-
itself?
I was going, you want to see that? And that showed me, because there's so much in comedy at the end of the day that's a direct line to absolute misery. You know, Dave is a very honest person, you know?
Yeah.
So he'd be thrashing out stuff, and if he was annoyed with stuff, he would be annoyed with it vocally and straight
Yeah.
up. So a lot of the stuff, we really worked it to the very last, and we'd all reject bits of it, and we'd all not be happy with
Yeah.
it. And that kind of tension was evident in a lot of the shooting of a lot of the sketches, which make them better.
Right.
When you watch them, you're aware of, it's not laughy,
Yeah.
look how funny
I
we are.
remember it being a tense. There was a tension in it. Like it wasn't like the Fast Show. Like the Fast Show was kind of, do you know, I'd be a big fan of the old Harry Enfield in the Fast Show.
Me too,
but
yeah.
that's more kind of, you could kind of almost see that there was serious crack being had there, even on and off.
Yeah.
But watching this, there was a darker tone,
Absolutely.
the Savage Eye.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it probably comes from the fact that you're shooting a program, and like, I could be fucking completely wrong in saying this, but I bet you it gets to the point where you've done a sketch for ages and ages and ages that nobody there finds it funny
That's
anymore.
what happens.
You still have to record it.
You do.
And
That's
you have to
exactly right.
anticipate that people will find it funny then.
Yeah, and it's like being on set with comedy. If you have to do various takes, is
Yeah.
the equivalent of watching or being involved in someone telling a joke to another person who doesn't get it.
Yeah.
And then that person has to explain
It's
every
awful.
detail of the joke.
Yeah.
And then everyone gets, oh my God, the joke is ruined.
Yeah, it's gone now.
There is no humour.
Yeah,
Humour's
it's
dead.
mad.
So that's what shooting stuff is like, because you have to keep explaining the
Yeah.
gag in the act, in
That's
the
mad.
performance of it. Like,
It's a bit like us on a Tuesday night when we're editing this yoke.
Yeah.
Telling you,
Yeah.
we are not anyways confident we put out the show every Tuesday night.
because we've listened to it 4 times since it's, and we're like, that joke was
if
funny
you
when I
do,
first listened
Put
to it.
out.
Like,
And you're nearly waiting the following morning for people to going, geez, that was shite, lads.
but,
yeah.
but come here, can I just tell you real quick what my favourite Savage Eye sketch was? And it's
Yeah.
in relation to this man here. This man here is a civil servant, you know that?
Oh, good man.
Yeah, I worked the same department as Met Aaron, actually. I mentioned him earlier.
Did
We'd
you
be-
actually?
Yeah, Met Aaron are in the Department of Housing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you work here in town?
I'm working Ballina.
Oh, Ballina, all right.
Yeah, I do, yeah. I got down to Ballina. So I'm from Ballina.
Yeah,
so.
right, yeah.
Yeah,
I remember
or-
you telling me that,
Or
actually.
outside it.
Yeah.
Can't say I'm from it.
Yeah.
When you're
Yeah.
8 miles outside of town.
Are you from it?
Yeah, it depends on who you're talking to. If it's Americans, I'm from Ireland. If it's
Yeah,
from Dublin, I'm from Mayo. If you're in
Yeah.
Longford, I'm from Ballina.
Yeah.
And then if you're in Ballina, I'm from Killala.
Oh, you're from Killala?
Well, yeah, and then I'm 3 miles outside that. I'm basically...
You're from nowhere.
I'm 3 miles from somewhere, I keep saying. I'm 3 miles from somewhere. That's kind of me. What were you
Yeah.
going to say anyway with the
Oh,
Savage Eye?
sorry. There's a sketch that you do where you do brewing up a storm.
Yeah,
But the song is called "Filling Out a Form."
yeah.
When you go into one of these government
Yeah.
buildings, and at the real end of it, I know this isn't going to translate. It's getting stamped, it's getting signed, it's getting passed around
Yeah,
every
yeah.
civil servant in there before they give it back to your man. And
Yeah.
just at the end, you pick up your cup of coffee and you put a stamp on
That's
it with
right,
the
with
bottom of your
coffee, yeah.
coffee and you hand it back to your
Yeah.
man at the end.
There's another thing. There's another thing that you made me think of there that happened in that same series about
Yeah.
that same topic. Was we did this thing where we're trying to display that thing about the filling out a form and all the bullshit that goes on and so on and so on. And then there was another sketch which was a bunch of files. Someone coming into an office. I can't remember. I think it was Dermot coming into an office with a bunch of files
Right.
to be reviewed and then stamped and so
Yeah.
on. And he left them on my desk, and I pull out a leaf blower from behind the desk, and I just blow them all over the room, and then pick one up and carry on with it. And when we were doing that thing, shot that thing in a school in Castleknock,
yeah.
and we were doing that thing with a leaf blower. So sound, like yourself there, headphones on, they were kind of ready with booms and stuff. And then one of them went, oh, sorry, I'm just getting something here. It's a bit noisy outside. And we looked outside and there was a dude in the grounds with a leaf blower. Right? So, and this is typical of,
Oh my God.
interns and people, young heads from South Dublin who work on TV shows.
Oh, yeah.
And they were going, Catherine, could you just go out and tell the guy maybe just to hold the leaf blower for about an hour? We're just shooting in here.
With a leaf blower.
Exactly. So I watched out the window. Your man was giving it all that, and I watched that young woman walk all the way across the thing and go to your man, and then she walked away, and your man was standing there with a leaf blower, just looking up at the building. She went, "Could you just stop with the leaf blower? Because we're trying to shoot a thing in here with a leaf blower." And his face, man, he was just looking up.
He probably thought it was a joke. He probably thought someone was winding him up.
He didn't know what to do. He was just like looking up, and I was going, "Oh, that's classic, man."
Oh, that's deadly, man. Oh, God almighty.
Are you working on stuff at the minute? Tally-wise, that you,
I'm working with Tommy Tiernan at the moment.
No way.
Yeah, we're doing.
Oh, yeah.
we're
You do
doing-
the Tommy Tiernan show.
Yeah, we do a sketch in the
middle of it.
part of it.
Yeah, yeah. That's
So
right.
His show has been recorded. We've done a few of them, and there's about 4 more.
So the Tommy Tiernan show is being recorded and being
It's
released.
been in.
when?
I think it's on RTE1 in May.
Oh,
as far as I
cool.
know.
Yeah, cool.
That could change,
So keep an eye out for that as well. And on top of that, you still doing stand-up?
Yeah, I was doing stand up.
See, now be careful with the H's. Don't take that away from here.
Stand up last night. Last night. Last night I was in Dublin last night.
You were in Dublin last
Dublin
night?
last night. I was on the International Fair last night. So I did 2 shows and I finished the second show about 11:30, 12 and drove straight down to Sligo.
Okay, so common people do have an accent then. Because
Sorry, was that Roscommon?
No, it wasn't. It was anything. It was the West of Ireland.
yeah, but you sounded just like a guy that was in the pub when I was growing up. Like that, it was him. I can't say his name, but
You
it
were
was
getting
him.
very excited about his gig in Dublin. They were kind of sitting there in a chair going, "Woo!"
If I had closed my eyes,
gig.
it was him. Yeah, that was really good. I'd say we might wrap it up there and let you tip off down
Jesus,
the road.
yeah.
I have one shout out to do before we do shout outs at the
Shout
end.
out, okay.
Yeah, we
Shout
can do
it
a
out.
shout out as well if you want.
Oh, you do the shout outs.
The girl that helped me with the television package yesterday. I had to ring Virgin Media.
She had to look at your package. And
She did.
what you make of it?
Virgin package.
She
Virgin,
look at the Virgin package on you.
So I rang her up. I said, when I rang up, it's Virgin I'm with.
Right.
And I'm paying 100, and when I say I'm paying, me and the collective housemates are paying €101 a month
Right.
for telly, broadband, and a house phone. We got a house phone in
Yeah.
just because I could never get one of the girls on the phone, so I just put a house phone in the living room, then I could always get her.
Yeah.
So I rang him up and I said, Jesus, am I paying €101 for telly, broadband, and a phone? That's a bit expensive. She said, Jesus, it is, yeah. I can do better for you. And I said, well, what is it if you take the phone off it? More expensive, she said.
Yeah.
So I have to ask myself, why is it more expensive if you take the phone out of the package?
It's all part of the deal, boy.
Part
That's
of
what
the
they
deal.
do, yeah.
But yeah, so she gave me the reduced package, says you.
The deluxe extravaganza package.
No, I did have to. She
a good one.
reduced down the number of channels, and I asked her, and straight up, and I'm sad to say this, I wanted to make sure we still had E. You know, entertainment.
Oh,
Why?
yeah.
I'm fond of the Kardashians now.
Come out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
I think if you're forced to watch enough of them, you eventually kind of feel like you know them.
No,
It's doing its job there.
Yeah.
It's doing
I
its
do
job
find
there.
myself stopping on E and kind of going, what the girls at now?
Yeah.
It's the big fake
No.
arses on the Ray you be looking at.
I wouldn't be on the fake arses
You
now,
dirty
but you know,
pervert.
they'd be crack.
I know
like.
by the head in you, man.
The
It's
Bella
fake
twins now.
arses.
The Bella twins are a different story.
Who are they?
Oh, the two finest looking yokes out of America.
Two fine young ones.
Yeah.
Two fine fake young ones or two fine young ones?
I don't know how fake or real they are. Jeez, girls, if you're listening, I'm sorry about that now. I just don't know the truth of that, to be fairness now.
It's very easy
Bella
to see
Twins
it,
has been
mate.
very
Yeah.
into this show. But yeah, I made sure that it was there. And the girl that I was talking to, she was very nice. I
Right.
think her name was Roisin.
Roisin, fair play to you.
And she said she was going to listen to the podcast. This could be the first one she's listening to. And I said she must always get, do you know when they write out the contract to you at the end of it?
Yeah.
You know? I said you must always get asked to do readings at weddings and stuff like that. She was mighty. Just flew through, I'd
Go
say,
ahead.
2 pages worth of stuff.
Well, look, Roisin, fair
I
play
think
to
it's
you
Roisin.
for sorting out Ray's Virgin package.
Yeah, me Virgin
I can't
package.
thank you enough. That's the truth, though. A big thanks to John Colleary, lads. Check him out because his stand-up is unbelievable. And if you want to waste 2 hours of your night like I do, just Google, YouTube The Savage Eye because it's unbelievable.
Would there be one particular place people could maybe go and see in the next month? Would there be one stand out? Jeez, that'll be a great night. They'll all be great nights to see.
No, it's mostly club stuff in the next while. Like it'll be, I do the Laughter Lounge quite regularly in Dublin, so I do
Lovely.
that. I'm doing that on the next weekend, 28th. I have to be careful, 28th, 1st and 2nd of March, and then I'm doing the 14th, 15th, 16th. That'll be Paddy's weekend in the same venue.
Right.
Lovely.
And
Do you do
I
the
think
big
I'm doing a
festivals?
go. I'm doing Roisin Dove on the 2nd of April, I think.
And is that you
Lovely.
on your own now? Or
Yeah, well, it'll be a club as well.
Club
but
thing, yeah.
Kind of second half maybe on there, and Limerick then the next night after that.
could you get us into the Cat Laughs? Just to like,
I haven't been booked for that for a while.
go away. I mean, neither have we.
Do you want me to go down with a jerry can and a lighter?
I wouldn't mind that, yeah.
Shop, that's kind of relevant because there was a fire in Kilkenny recently.
Was
Yeah, Langton's,
matter.
I think, burned down a small bit.
Yeah,
And that
well-
would have been. You weren't
Yeah.
anywhere near Langton's that night, no.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
Well, you
no.
know, they'll learn their lesson. Like,
No. Oh, no.
So-
No. If there was a Langton's around the corner, I might have been there. Well, I wasn't at that Langton's at that time. No.
And one last thing before you go, because we didn't get into this. You have a specialist talent at Gardaí. Or as they're
Gardaí.
called Gardaí.
Yeah. The Nardi are brilliant. When people say, because we used to have a joke with the ministers on the Savage Eye where David would go, the Gardaí are doing a fantastic job. But they kind of are. And because they're a very unique to Ireland police force, because other police forces who I've crossed paths with in the past aren't as
nice.
They're just, Irish people are great for just being very, very up for crack very quickly. even if they're in their official capacity. Because, and cops, this has happened so many times because we wrote all that material about cops and we wanted to have a go. We wanted to kind of be satirical and have a bit of an edge on it. But they loved it,
Yeah. Lapped it up.
Fucking loved it, man.
Yeah.
And like, I was stopped numerous times by cops who, there's two things that happened. They either know the Savage Eye and they see you and they start doing the lines that you wrote about them to you.
Yeah.
Nerdy! Lose the attitude! Have you a drink? And these is cops in uniform.
Yeah, that's bad.
And then you drive, and then they go, "Go on, fuck off!" And you drive off. And then other cops who don't watch the Savage Eye but who see telly all the time think that you're a cop.
No way.
They've seen your head in a uniform.
So there's a subconscious.
So they go, yeah, because it's gone
subconscious
in.
awareness.
No way.
Yeah.
They've seen you in a uniform. They don't know where they've seen you, but they've seen you. And the fellas be leaning in real covert going, "Where are you heading for tonight?" "I'm just going up there." Were you working?" I was working. "Right. You're in the job, aren't you?" "I have a job, yeah." "No, but you're a guard, aren't you?"
Oh my God.
"No." "All right, go on ahead."
Right, so at that point you
great.
start to panic.
Yeah, because am I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
You
another-
might be lying. You might be saying, you might be
Exactly.
covertly working.
Exactly. And they might be thinking, he's on a stakeout.
Say
I
nothing.
have a stakeout every Tuesday with the wife. But there's so many Garda stories, and I remember going to a cop shop in Coolock to get a passport thing signed at one point. This is years ago, and there was a line of people there, Coolock, north side, proper, the hood,
Yeah.
as it were. And I come up to the counter thing, and your man came out, and he was writing, and then he looked up and he went, he had that head when he went, "Oh, it's your man off the hook."
To yourself.
And he said to me, surely you should be round here. And that's what he said. And he started having a laugh. And he started calling lads out from behind. "Come out here and see this." And like, "Do the fucking thing. Lose the hatch." And all these headbangers behind. "How will you? What are you doing? Will you have to get me? How will you hurry up with this?" And your man go, "Shut up, you, for a minute." With serious face, and then back to me with a smile. "Go on, do it again." That happened. Like.
Yeah, because all the cops up in Dublin can't be from Dublin. So
No.
they're all Westerners.
They're all-
like, everyone, there were Westerners up there,
And
That's
then,
mighty.
Yeah.
it's great. Like the Irish police, they're great. And I remember getting a taxi. This is something that came up in my head recently as well. I remember once getting a taxi somewhere, and the guy, taxi driver, was an ex-cop or ex-branch detective, whatever, and he was maybe in his 60s, and he'd retired about 10 years or something. And I started asking him about, cop life and all that. What's
Yeah.
it like? That's all right, yeah, it's all right, and it's all right. I said, why would someone move from, say, uniform into, why would someone want to do that? And his answer was, and this is exactly what he said, it's good, it's handy for lads who are good at solving things. Like. He said that, and his next bit was the best. He said, "And it's really great for any lad that wants to wear his own clothes to work." And he was being real, like.
That's like in the non-uniform day at school. Like,
That's
They
handy.
were great though, in fairness.
I mean, so
Handy, you can just have your own pants and everything.
ladies and gentlemen,
And wear
that's the
runners.
Irish police force right there, like in
and
a
I tell you,
nutshell.
that's John Colleary. That's your son, man. I give you.
That's brilliant.
Fair play
That's-
to you.
Thanks
Thanks,
a lot.
thanks very much for
Thanks
doing
very
this.
much.
Yeah,
Thank you. It's great fun.
We always say fair play to me at the end of them, so you
Yeah.
might do that as well.
Kind of
So-
positive affirmation of your
Oh, yeah.
Mariska
Yeah.
Hargittis.
I said that.
Yeah.
I say that quite regularly anyway.
Lovely.
Fair play to me.
Yeah, so Ray, fair play to me.
And fair play to me.
And fair play to me.
Good luck.
See ya.